The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation building series, The Law and You. This is program 895, coming to you on Monday the 19th of March 2018. On this program I will speak to you on the topic representation of the people in Grenada. But before getting into the topic, a few preliminary comments. Firstly, and as usual, my deepest condolences go out to all families which have suffered recent bereavements. And I wish to send particular condolences to the Ferris family of Montrose, who suffered the loss of their dad and granddad, as the case may be, Mr. Oscar Ferris, good friend of mine for many, many years, as well as the family of Mr. Foster Hanaway, my Queens Drive fellow resident. And condolences go out to the Pompey family in Overland. Secondly, I wish to express my warmest congratulations to His Lordship, Mr. Justice Colin Williams, on his recent appointment to the bench in Belize. He is the second Vincentian lawyer who has been appointed to the bench in Belize, the first one being Ms. Sonia Young. Mr. Williams has served as DPP for a number of years, not without controversy, but he has given, I would say, excellent service to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I wish him all the best as he moves on to another sphere in the legal realm. And finally, my congratulations to my friend, brother, and colleague, Mr. Cecil Blazer Williams, on the publication of his third novel. This one, The Man Who Came Back, which was launched last week, Tuesday. I unfortunately couldn't go to the launching, but I was ably represented by my daughter, Miss Mandela Campbell. I have read Blazer's novel from cover to cover, and I would strongly recommend it to those who love a good story. Congratulations once again, Brother Blazer, and from published reports, I gather that he has another book coming out soon. A prolific brother and a cultural icon in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Excuse me. And now for the topic for the evening, representation of the people in Grenada. As all of us should know by now, general elections were held in Grenada on the 13th of this month. And those elections were won by the party led by Dr. Keith Mitchell, who was the outgoing Prime Minister. I have with me the statistics for the Grenada general elections. 57,354 persons cast valid ballots. 57,354, making up 73.3% of the persons registered to vote. So Grenada had a high turnout. Mind you, the turnout before was in the order of 87%. So Grenada is accustomed to having high turnouts in their elections. Now, the two main political parties scored as follows. The New National Party, led by Dr. Keith Mitchell, scored 33,786 votes. 33,786. And the main opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, scored 23,243 votes. So to repeat, the ruling party, the New National Party, 33,786 votes, 33,786. And the main opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, 23,243 votes. In terms of percentage, the NNP, with its 33,778 votes, got the support of 58.9% of those who voted. 58.9%. While the main opposition party, the NDC, with its 23,243 votes, got 40.5% of the votes. So here is the winning party with 58.9% of those who voted, and the losing party 40.5%. But with its 58.9% of the votes validly cast, the winning party won all 15 seats. And with its 40.5% of the electorate, the losing party did not win a single seat. Therefore, we have in Grenada the situation where the winning party swept the polls, all 15 seats, with 58.9% of the support of the electorate. And the losing party, with 40.5% of the votes, did not win a single seat. In other words, the 40.5% of the people who supported the NDC have no representation in Parliament in Grenada at all. Now, clearly, something is wrong with the system. Because if 40.5% of the voting populace can have no representation in Parliament, yet the 58.9% of the voting populace can be represented by every single seat in Parliament, something has to be wrong. And there is a heavy irony in the situation in Grenada, because the opposition party, which now has, well, not now, but it went into the elections without any seats. This is the third time that Dr. Keith Mitchell is winning 15-0. He won 15-0 in the election before, for the second time in 2013. And when he went back to the polls in 2018, he won 15-0 again. Now, during the life of Dr. Mitchell's previous administration, many Grenadians lamented the situation where so many thousands of people voted for the opposition, yet ended up with having no representation in Parliament at all. Dr. Mitchell heeded the cries of injustice, and Dr. Mitchell said to the people of Grenada, I would be willing to amend the Grenada Constitution so that if that sort of thing happens, some provision will be made for the opposition to be represented in Parliament, even though they have no seats out of the 15. So Dr. Mitchell set up a Constitutional Review Commission, CRC, headed by none other than Dr. Francis Alexis, the gentleman who was the draftsman of the St. Vincent proposed new constitution, which was put to the people in this country in 2009. Now, Dr. Alexis, from his experience here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, took on board the suggestion which some made in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that rather than have one bill with several amendments to the Constitution, why don't you put each major amendment in a separate bill so that the people would have the opportunity to pick and choose those issues that they wanted to change and distinguish them from those issues that they wanted to leave alone. You would recall, you here in St. Vincent and Grenadines would recall, that some people said the reason why the referendum of 2009 failed is that the government put everything in one bill. And therefore, if the bill contained matters which they didn't like, they were going to vote against the whole bill, which they did overwhelmingly, causing the referendum to fail. So having heard that here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, Dr. Alexis says, all right, that is probably a good idea. And he persuaded the CRC and in turn the government of Grenada to amend the Grenada Constitution by placing before the Grenada electorate 7 separate bills, each dealing with a separate topic, but having one referendum so that the people could pick and choose which bill they wanted to support. These are the issues, the topics reflected in the 7 constitutional amendment bills which are placed before the people of Grenada on our independence anniversary, the 27th of October 2016. That is when Grenada had their referendum. The bills dealt with the term of office of the Prime Minister, where there was a new proposal to limit the Prime Minister to 3 terms. Secondly, the rights and freedoms. Several of the fundamental freedoms were strengthened. Thirdly, the name of the state, changing the official name from Grenada to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Fourthly, having Parliament empowered to prescribe a fixed date for elections. Fifthly, appointment of a leader of the opposition, and I will return to this. Sixthly, a bill dealing with the Elections and Boundaries Commission. And lastly, a bill dealing with the Caribbean Court of Justice. Those were the 7 bills which constituted a package of proposals which were placed before the electorate of Grenada in the October 27th, 2016 referendum. It is the bill dealing with the appointment of the leader of the opposition that fascinates me. This is what was proposed. An amendment to the Grenada Constitution was proposed which said, in what would have been Section 68A of the Grenada Revised Constitution, it says, 1. If the Governor General, acting in his own deliberate judgment, determines that all the members of the House of Representatives as elected are members of a political party that forms the government, then he, the Governor General, shall appoint as leader of the opposition a person who A, appears to him to be a member of the political party that obtained the highest number of votes in the most recent general elections, excluding the political party that forms the government, and B, is qualified under the provisions of Section 30 of this Constitution to be elected as a member of the House of Representatives. So what the government of Dr. Keith Mitchell proposed to the people of Grenada in the years leading up to the referendum in 2016, he said, look, I am Prime Minister now by virtue of having won all 15 seats for the second time. He said to the people, this is Dr. Keith Mitchell, the Prime Minister of Grenada, he said, look, right now, and we're talking about the years leading up to the referendum, he said, right now we have all 15 seats, there's nobody from the opposition in Parliament. He said, I am putting it before you that we should amend the Constitution so that if I get all 15 seats again, the Governor General will have to appoint as leader of the opposition a person who appears to him to command the support of those who did not vote for the government. In other words, the leader of the losing party. Now, you would have thought the people of Grenada would have said, that is a good idea, very good idea. Very good idea. But the very opposition party, the National Democratic Congress, and others said no. And they ran a no campaign in the referendum campaign. They said we don't want that, because they felt next election they are going to win. And lo and behold, elections were held on the 13th of March this year, and the same opposition party which opposed this proposal in the referendum in Grenada now finds itself out of parliament, and because they campaigned and voted against this proposal, they have squandered the opportunity to have had their leader out of parliament being named leader of the opposition and placed in parliament, because the proposal which was put before them said, if a person is appointed as leader of the opposition under section 66A of this constitution, that person shall, by virtue of that appointment, be deemed to be a member of the House of Representatives for all purposes under this constitution. For greater certainty, it is hereby declared that a person appointed as leader of the opposition under section 66 of this constitution is entitled to vote on any question proposed for decision in the House of Representatives. So if the Grenada opposition party had given even this idea its support, by now the leader of that party would have been named leader of the opposition. Dr. Mitchell was sworn in on Friday gone, the 16th of March, as Prime Minister. I looked at the whole swearing ceremony. It's on YouTube if you're interested. You just have to type in swearing in of new parliament, of new Prime Minister in Grenada, and you will be able to follow the whole proceedings of the swearing in on Friday. And Dr. Mitchell made a magnificent pronouncement. He said, notwithstanding we have all 15 seats, I am Prime Minister of the whole of Grenada. I am not just Prime Minister of those who supported the new National Party. Beautiful speech, and those who are interested in politics, I commend it to you on YouTube. Now, you might recall when we had our constitution proposals, we wanted to get away with this imbalance in the representation of the people in Parliament, where the first past the post system results in what is really an anomaly. And we had proposed a system of proportional representation, where any party getting 10% of the votes would get one seat in the Senate, or one senatorial seats, since we don't have a separate House of Senate. And all of that was rejected here. But it is a pity that the opposition in Grenada, which now finds itself totally out of parliament, even though it represents 40.5% of the people. Now, that must be an aberration of democracy, where one political entity represents 40.5% of the people, but hasn't got a single seat in the parliament, has no representation in the parliament, something has to be wrong. The Prime Minister of Grenada and his cabinet saw that it was wrong, tried to correct it, but the very opposition refused to accept it. In fact, they opposed the idea and now find themselves facing another 5 years without any representation in Parliament at all. So that there you have them representing 40.5% of the people who voted, but having not a single seat in Parliament. They have no say in the passing of laws or in any other business that is transacted in the Parliament. No say in the budget. No say on any governmental measure that has to go to Parliament for approval. All because of short-sightedness. When they had the opportunity, they refused it. I recall listening to some of their meetings during the referendum campaign. And they carried on because at the time they thought that they would win the next election in Grenada. I'm speaking about the Grenada opposition. So that is why I've chosen to call this topic Representation of the People in Grenada. Because the people are now represented by a 15-seat parliament representing 58.9% of the voting electorate, with not a soul belonging to the opposition, and no constitutional mechanism by which anybody in the opposition can have an influence on what happens in the parliament. When are we in these little countries going to learn that the constitutions we have no longer serve the interests of genuine democracy and that they should be changed? As the old people say, who can't hear go feel? Let the opposition in Grenada feel it now, which is a pity. But Dr. Mitchell is gracious enough to say that he is going to listen to their ideas. And I'm sure he means it. So all the best to the people of Grenada, and congratulations to Dr. Mitchell and his team on a magnificent showing at the polls. But it is a pity that the Grenada Constitution was not amended to allow a leader of the opposition to be appointed, even though the opposition has no seat in Parliament. But if that is what the opposition in Grenada wants, that is what they have got. That is all from this program of The Law and You, program number 895. I look forward to being of further service to you next week, Monday TV, for another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. Do have a pleasant week, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, and may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC, and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.